Xavier Atkins makes it official. Deebo says, let's do it again.
Midweek report coming at you guys live on a Wednesday night as we normally do. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at the Rage Room. You can find them at 1510 Second Ave in Opelika, Alabama, or if you're in the Birmingham area, 2016 7th Ave South. They throw axes. They got windshields for you to break. You can splash paint. You can jump on cars. A lot of great stuff to do at the Rage Room. Visit them when you get to the counter. Let them know that the War Report sent you. They'll have a little something extra in there for your party. Do us a favor, sign up as a patron. Ike has been on the road all year long. This is not an understatement for you guys. From San Antonio to College Station to Arizona to Las Vegas. He's been everywhere, and he will continue to go as long as you guys continue to sign up. $5.99 a month will get you there. We appreciate our community for always sponsoring our show. You can also give the gift of the War Report on tonight's show by hitting that gifted membership button. This is something you can only do on YouTube. So if you're watching this on Twitter right now, come on over to YouTube. It's a better experience interacting with other members, but also you get to do cool stuff like gift memberships. If you interact with our channel at a high level but have not made the decision to become a member, you're likely to be on the receiving end of one of these gifted memberships. We appreciate our Green Name Gang for helping us grow our Green Name Gang. Check out our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORTER to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop potentially has something that has you covered. Again, rogueshop.com. Use code REPORTER to get your 15% off. Last but certainly not least, check us out on podcasts. All the podcast platforms, we are there. With the Auburn Express, the Uptempo, College Loop, Just a Sec, and the War Report Gaming channel. If you're on your way to work, to school, dropping the kids off at school, this is the best way to get your favorite Auburn content on the go. We are packaging it up on audio and serving it up to you guys on your favorite podcast platform, whether that's Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, whatever you listen to. The War Report is there. We appreciate you guys for helping us grow over on the audio side. So subscribe, leave us a review, turn on automatic downloads, and we'll continue to bring you your favorite content on podcasts.
Yes, indeed. We are here Wednesday nights talking a little transfer portal. Once again, transfer portal is going to be the news for the next month. You know, like, listen, it's not even officially open, but there's tons of activity happening. This time, why don't more guys do this, right? Just let's end the speculation. Let's end all the drama. Hey, I'm not going nowhere. Forget, don't even ask me that question no more. Xavier Atkins made it pretty clear after the Iron Bowl, hey, I plan on coming back next year, but reaffirmed that commitment today via social media that he intends to return to Auburn this season. And there have been a couple of other guys that we'll talk about that have done similar things, maybe not as in grandiose fashion. But Mike G, how are you feeling about the return of Deebo?
He could be a top 10 player in college football next year. I feel great about this. And I got to tell you, Ike, definitely overlooked Deebo coming into the season. He transferred in, and he wasn't a guy that we had a lot of information on. Let me not say I did not have a lot of information on, but boy, I wish I had done my homework on this kid, or I would have known how good that he was going to be last season. I mean, there were some unsung heroes in that linebacker room this past season. We saw Elijah Melendez step up and be an absolute dude at times as a true freshman, but Xavier Atkins stood above all there. I would argue he was definitely Auburn's best defensive player, period, last year out of all the position groups. So having him back and having a guy like that made first team All SEC. Now there were a number of Tigers that made preseason, All SEC, but it's the ones at the end of the year that count because that's based on what you did. And what he did was he went out there and he was a problem defensively for almost everybody Auburn faced this year. So, man, kudos to him. That young man works hard. He feeds himself what he needs to get motivated and go out there. And I have no doubt that he'll motivate himself to break every record he set for himself this past season. Will be broken next season as long as that man stays healthy and stays on the field. This is a big return. I'm sure we're going to get some more return announcements here in the next 24 to 48 hours. But outside of Cam Coleman, I can't think of one that's bigger right now than Deebo.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a huge return. All-American linebacker, right? Like that's not something you've said with Auburn in the phrase in a while. And he went out there and proved it. To your point, coming into the season, there wasn't a lot of expectation or hype because he didn't play very much at LSU, right? Like he was sitting on the bench for an LSU defense that wasn't great, right? Which is kind of weird. It's like you had this guy sitting there and he's a difference maker. And, that has definitely been a motivation for him to prove the folks at LSU wrong, that they misevaluated how good he could potentially be. And there wasn't a lot of hype coming into the season for him or really anybody else in that linebacker room, right? Like I think as we, if we think back to our season projections about what's going to be the strongest unit for the Auburn defense, guarantee you nobody said linebacker. However, the linebacker room might have been the most impressive room from top to bottom. And Deebo's a big reason for that, right? Go through the stats of this season. I'm looking at ESPN here to grab these stats. So if somebody wants to argue with me, argue with ESPN. 60 solo tackles, 9 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. Of course, that one interception coming in the Texas A&M game, he almost housed it after the tip pass. But that's comparing that to his 2024 season. 3 total tackles, 1 solo, 2 assisted, no sacks, no forced fumbles, no fumble recoveries. He has a fumble recovery as well for Auburn. That's not listed in the stats that I initially read. No interceptions. Like he barely saw the field. So year over year for a guy who is a redshirt freshman, right? Not like some 4th year transfer guy. This was his first full season playing in pads in the SEC level, and he was All-American level when he went out there on the field.
He definitely was. You make a good point about the stats the previous year, but the LSU they weren't good on defense in those last couple of years under Brian Kelly. I would go back and I would even go as far to say is if they had an average defense the year that Jaden Daniels won the Heisman, they probably romp to a national title victory with that guy at quarterback. However, they had a lot of talent. They weren't good, but LSU recruited at a very, very high level. And, I haven't had a chance to talk to him about this, but if I got a chance to talk to him, I would love to talk to him about why he left LSU and why he was looking. I know that he was somebody that was definitely on Durkin's radar. Like, I think Durkin had recruited him to multiple places before, on his journey as a coach. But boy, man, I've said this, and this is one of the things I've loved about Durkin is that we all had our preseason favorites, the guys we felt like who were going to be the guys we talk about during the fall, and some names arose that nobody was talking about in the spring, and Deebo was one of them. So when you say, "Hey, the coach is going to play the best guy," this is a great example of that. Where, everyone had their preconceived notions, but he comes in and he balls and then he plays and he starts. I hope to see more of that because Deebo is going to go on to the NFL very likely after this season. And
yeah,
Auburn
will
is
be eligible after this year to go pro for sure.
Yeah, and Auburn is going to need the next one. So it's nice to see them start a legacy of good linebackers again. It felt like it's been a long time ago since we have been used to consistent production at linebacker. Guys like Josh Bynes and, going back to Antarius Williams and Travis Williams and Carlos Dansby and Darren Bates. Man, we just felt like there were linebackers, and then all of a sudden it just fell off a cliff, and suddenly it was no longer are any good linebackers coming out of Auburn.
Yeah.
I
I
love
mean,
this, man.
like Jacoby McLean really was the last guy that I looked at that linebacker room, and I said, okay, that's a dude right there. And he makes plays all over the field. When he was hurt that half season, when he wasn't in there, it made that defense look so much worse. And when he came back, you noticed the difference. But yeah, Deebo is cut from that McLean cloth, a guy who's maybe a little undersized for what a lot of people expect, but he goes out there and he lays it on the line. He's where he needs to be the vast majority of the time. He's making plays, impact plays, not just, tackles when it's coming his direction. He's out there, the tackles for loss and the sacks speak for themselves, and his ability to go out there and track down the football. And listen, that's just kind of par for the course for DJ Durkin, though. Durkin has been a guy who knows how to get linebacker. Like that's his bread and butter is linebacker play. And he gets linebackers that go out there and produce on the field. And, Atkins is another in the line of those great DJ Durkin linebackers. He's going to be a guy that's going to get an opportunity to play on Sundays. If he can put 2 years together like this, and there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be beckoning his services at the next level.
I think the Golesh and staff, like he's coached in the SEC before, not as a head coach, but he's been an offensive coordinator in the SEC before. Him and Dirk, these guys know you need dogs, right? All the talk of culture and all that, I get it. I love that. You guys know how much I love culture talk. However, at the end of the day, you just need dudes who are big, strong, and fast and can go out there and be bigger, stronger, and faster than the guys that they're up against. Deebo is that dude. I'm assuming he got paid, but if he didn't, pay him. If you're still working on the contract, pay him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the money is a part of the situation. I get frustrated, I think, sometimes when fans complain about players taking money as if like none of this stuff is guaranteed, man. Like when you get an opportunity to go get a check,
get it.
Look, man, you there's no guarantee that beyond collegiate football you will get this check again. And if you want to play beyond collegiate football, not only do you want that college check, but you want to get enough film that allows NFL scouts to say this dude can play.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at anybody making that decision in college. It's not, oh, I miss the days when people loved Auburn. Let me hip you guys to something for all of your nostalgia about people who loved Auburn. They stayed because they didn't have a choice. If you presented that same choice to those young men who loved Auburn so much back in the day, some of them would have left.
When we have the LeBron versus Jordan debate, this is something I like to bring up. They're like, well, Jordan would never. Well, Jordan didn't have a chance to test free agency the way that guys do today. It's just a fact. So under those rules, who knows how long he would have stayed in if you had put him under the same conditions that these guys are under, where they could leave a bad situation and go find a better one. It's the gift and the curse, man, of getting that first pick. Yes, you are the first pick. You are 100% going to one of the worst teams in the league, unless a historic trade is made to acquire your pick from a better team. They're having to give up the heart of their franchise to get you, so they better believe that you are that dude. And so I agree with you. Look, man, Ike, I know you got kids in the household. It's Christmas time. I'm not sure if you're done with your Christmas shopping yet, but I could use some of that Deebo money. My stepdaughter wants this mirror LED thing, and I was like, that thing costs what? What?
Right.
Man, we have a broke Christmas over here, boy. If everybody gets what they want for Christmas. Speaking of which, if y'all haven't signed up for some Patreon memberships, please, it's Christmas time. we got kids that we got to shop for. So every Patreon membership.
Listen, and I'm not. Here's the thing: I'm not mad at anybody who wants their team to have continuity. And this is the first time that I've said anything even remotely like this. But here's because I had this conversation with Dustin over on his podcast about the culture of Auburn football and the whole Jake Crane, we need to reset everybody. I have never been of the get rid of everybody, wipe the slate clean. I think that there are certain players that you absolutely need to hold on to maintain your culture while you're getting rid of some other ones that, or allowing, I won't say get rid of, but allowing others to walk away to reset the culture. The biggest thing for me in this whole situation is the same thing that Alex Golesh has said, which is, I want the people to be at Auburn who want to be at Auburn. At the same time, there are certain people who I want them to want to be here, right? Like, let's make no mistakes. I want Cam Coleman to want to be at Auburn. And if he doesn't want to be at Auburn, I'm going to be upset about that. I'm going to be like, yo, man, dang, why couldn't we keep, like, I just want people to stop trying to, like, immediately it's throwing kids under the bus and they got no loyalty and they was a bum anyway and all this crazy stuff when people hit the transfer portal. But I'm just like, man, let those young men make their own decisions about their lives and be okay. And yes, it's not your grandpa's college football anymore. I get it. Oh, I'm starting to hate it because this is feeling like NFL junior. Okay, and who cares? Why do you care that they're getting paid? Why do you care that they don't want to play in a place where they were not winning, or because let's be clear, none of these young men have been winners since they got to Auburn. There's not a single one. Name a player on Auburn's team right now that has been a winner since they got here. You can't do it.
Seasons, yeah.
So they've got to learn how to win, and maybe Auburn's the place for them to do that. Maybe it's somewhere else. But listen, man, just roll with the guys who are with you. And I'll say this as many times as I need to. As long as you don't say nothing crazy on your way out the door, or you don't go play for one of very few schools that I despise a whole bunch, listen, go do what you do. It's cool.
Golesh said that Auburn is going to practice for the fourth quarter. I can't stress how awesome a statement that is. To see these kids and know that they are being put through the exact situation they're going to find themselves in if they want to win a championship. Auburn had those situations like 5 times this year.
Yeah.
Where it was final drive, we've got the ball, and our destiny is in our own hands. And they weren't able to pull it off any of the times. So if he's got a formula to where it's like, hey, we're down at 6 points. It's the fourth quarter, and we're going to go do the thing that we practiced 100 times already. To win it, I'm looking forward to seeing that, because there's no path to an SEC championship in modern day football without those moments, Ike, where it's tight in the game. I mean, think about it. 2019 LSU, historically good. But at least one time during their season, they had a game that was tight at some point, and they had to buck up and do what they do. Those dudes could not be stopped when those moments arose. Bama has had those moments and passed that test. That's why I say Ole Miss will never win a national title. But I don't see them passing those moments. Well, now that Lane is gone, it would be apropos they do it without him.
Yeah,
so I would
want to lose, but
I mean, if there was any sweet justice in them winning a national title, it would be.
The irony would be a little tasty. I ain't gonna hold you.
After he's gone, absolutely. Yeah, I know we're not sending you a ring, Lane. Let LSU cook one up.
Oh, they 100% would not send him a ring.
Zero. Zero.
Yep, these are your roster, your players, mostly your coaches. No ring for you.
No ring for you. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun to see how they do it. Right? Can they get Auburn to produce in those moments that would make Auburn history? It's a couple times over the last couple seasons where Auburn has had final drives to win the game, and I've tweeted this out and said, if Auburn's going to win, such and such QB is going to create a moment that will never be forgotten. They had that opportunity in the Iron Bowl. It's like, woo, can Ashton Daniels become an Auburn legend on one drive?
Yeah.
It was, and while it looked better than it did before Freeze got fired, that winning in the fourth quarter hump was just something they were unable to get over. And the problem is that is work that's done in the offseason that you bring into the season. So that's what, to me, what Alex Golesh has to get fixed here. And it starts with making sure that guys like Xavier or Atkins come back.
Yeah.
And run it back with you.
He's a centerpiece of what they need to do for that defense. And I would be surprised if he's not a guy that gets voted as team captain going into next season, but like, because he's going to be one of the few returning starters that's going to be right. Like Keldrick Falk, that was a captain last year. He's out of there. Keyron Crawford, big leader on that defense. He's out of there. We already talked about Jay Crawford. I don't know if the Jay Crawford story is completely written yet. He still has maybe a possibility of coming back, but for right now, he wouldn't be there. So like, there hasn't been any news on Champ Anthony and what his recovery is looking like, but he's a guy who is going to be in a leadership style position should he return and be healthy for Auburn next year. But that forging of the ability to win in those moments is really going to be about who are your leaders on the field. Deebo's the kind of guy you want to lead your defense on the field in those moments.
Were you shocked about Jay Crawford?
I was. Well, so shocked is probably not the right. I was disappointed because he's a guy who I thought, listen, he was going to be a starter, right? Like his starting spot wasn't in question. And
did they mess with his money? Maybe, do you think?
I don't know, right? Like I don't know what the situation was.
I'm running down the things in my head. And I'm like, I wonder if they reevaluated some of these NIL deals and started telling kids, I think you said this on a previous show, like, yeah, maybe we want y'all to stay, but not at this price.
Right. Which and here's the thing, like, I don't, it's a little, this is something that we've talked about as well. If your only means for trying to capitalize on NIL is what your school is bringing you in, then you're failing yourself there are so many other ways that you can capitalize on your name, image, and likeness that have nothing to do with what Auburn is going to give you. Cultivate those things and say, all right, you know what? I like what we're building here at Auburn. I'll take $200,000 because you're still gonna make a whole lot of money.
Do you remember the guy? I think he ended up going to Nebraska, and I think he was a DB, but his name was the Coldest.
Oh yeah, the Coldest Crawford.
Crawford, right? And he the commercial he did with the air conditioning company. like
I haven't seen any of the commercials, but yeah, but that's capitalizing on your name.
It was epic. Yes, the Coldest Crawford, and they had a good tagline. I vaguely remember the commercial. I just remember thinking, like, what a great opportunity. I personally have had talks with players about utilizing their social media better.
Yeah.
You have an incredible opportunity to build a platform that most people will never have just because you are an Auburn football player. There's an intense public interest in everything you do in your private life. And if you pick the right things and put it out there, you can grow a public platform that will feed you long after football. One of the saddest things that anyone has ever done is my friend Jason Campbell deleting a Twitter account that had 1 million followers. This man was the starting quarterback of multiple NFL teams, and he's never really been a big social media guy. So he was just like, I don't know about this. I'm just gonna. He got rid of his 1 million followers on a social media account.
Yeah.
Money is gone. So if you are a player, you got an opportunity to build something and diversify. So it's no longer just about what the school is willing to pay you, and it's minimal work.
Right, because the audience will come to you, right? Like those receivers that tried to do the YouTube channel, they were getting hella views just posting random stuff. Right. But like, you've got to be willing to do the little stuff to build that up. And so I got too much other stuff going on. I don't want to have to do this. But like, if you want to make that money, you're gonna do what you got to do.
The kicker from Florida State that had he's got like 1 million YouTube subscribers. Remember, they were trying to make him shut his channel down, and he was like, "I ain't
Oh yeah,
shutting
it
this
was.
down."
I think he was at UCF initially.
Yeah, he ended up at Florida FSU at some point, but he just, I'm not shutting it down. Screw
Right,
you
because
guys.
this was pre-NIL, right? So they, that he was one of the big proponents of why this kind of thing happens right now, because they're like, oh yeah, destroying. Somebody just said in the comments, destroying is what his
Destroying, yeah.
channel was. But like that is the kind of like he is the model for what these young athletes should be looking to do. It's not doing anything crazy. It is like, because this is something Cam
He's
Coleman
already a
was doing when
kicker.
he first got there. Like he would just have his phone out. Now people used to be scared because he was on the little scooter and they're like, oh, he's going too fast. And oh my God. Like, but like just turn the camera on while you're going around doing your normal day-to-day stuff and give people a peek inside of your world. Hey man, I'm just going here, finna get this workout in. We finna go hit the jug machine real quick. Like nothing about that is intrusive into your life. It is showing work that you're putting in during the off season. People will eat that content up. That content becomes something that people want to be able to sponsor. They want to be able to see. Now again, Cam is a guy who sponsors are coming to him, so he doesn't have to do a whole bunch of work.
Facts.
But there are other guys who don't necessarily have the same type of profile as him, but could make similar, if not more money, if they just put in a little bit more work to show the effort that they're putting in for this kind of social media stuff. But these guys just aren't willing to do that kind of stuff. And it's sad because now all of what you have and what you want to make is wrapped up in how someone else evaluates you, from whether or not you perform at a certain level or what I value this position at on my team. It has nothing to do with how popular you are. And you can parlay your popularity into money that they're just not doing, which is the essence of what NIL should be. Just don't be lazy, man. Just don't be lazy.
Yeah.
And I'm lazy when it comes to chasing the money, right? Like you putting in the work on your body, you're doing the film study. Just turn a camera on, bro. Like that's all you got to do.
Well, and also once you start getting your name called every Saturday, it goes to another level. Right. Like fans know who these kids are because so many fans, especially a place like Auburn, follow recruiting very closely.
Right.
And you can forget sometimes who those guys are if they don't play immediately, unless you stay active on social media and you stay out there and you let people know who you are. It is an incredible opportunity that these guys have. And even a minimal amount of effort could produce a lot of income.
Right.
So, look, I Auburn, Free said this, right? He said that we have the resources to bless kids, but that blessing can't come with entitlement. And I agree with him 100%. I think that, Xavier Atkins is a kid who's played, maybe plays with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. And if you think that he can't do something, he's going to go out there and prove you wrong. And prove to himself that he can do it. You need kids like that, man. You need kids who will take any perceived slight and turn it into motivation to hit that next level. They'll never settle. They'll always listen to coaching, and they'll be ready to put in the work to and when they run out of levels, they'll start creating levels that we never seen before. Those are the kids who break records. So I was very, very happy to see that he was returning. I slept on him in the offseason. Look, man, nobody's going to be sleeping on him going into next season, though.
Oh, yeah. But here's the thing. As the season progressed, people started that he rose up the film study and the preparation thing. It's like by the end of the year, people were like, okay, where's 17 on this play? Like that was a thing that teams had to come in prepared to say, how do we make sure this guy doesn't wreck our game plan? It's going to be like that going into the season. He's going to get all of the SEC media days comes rolling around. If he's not there, he's going to be the topic of conversation where people are going to be like, I wonder what Deebo is going to be doing this year. That game versus LSU, his former team, is going to have all the hype coming in surrounding it. He's going to be the topic of conversation a lot this year. I'd be shocked if there are 6 linebackers that are selected ahead of him for preseason lists all over. If at SEC Media Days, he isn't in the top 4 of linebackers that are going to be on a lot of people's ballots, right? And so, you know, he's going to have to find a new way to get motivated, because it ain't going to be from slight and overlook, because the people are going to be watching this year.
Yeah, listen, man, that's one thing about becoming the man is they start game planning and how to stop you. So he's going to have to hit that next level. But for what it's worth, I think he's got what it takes up here to do that. And not every kid has that. It's more than just about the physical, right? He's motivated, and he's in a position where he's going to come in and he's going to want to show, you know, I mean, it's his same coach, coordinator, but anybody who's new to Auburn, he's going to want to show why he's the man. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I think that this is a bit of good news here. There have been a lot of names hitting the portal. Some of them big names, other, you know, maybe just not so big names. But so far, I think Auburn is doing all right. You know, I can't deny it. It hurt a little bit to see Malcolm hit the portal, because I know what his athletic capability is.
For sure.
But, you know, in a better system, I think there are some kids that could come in and fill his role to some extent, while also utilizing guys like Cam Coleman if he returns better, so that you get the same amount of production out of the room. And that's my prayer for them, is that, like, look, man, I want to see Cam Coleman break some Auburn receiving records next season.
And he absolutely has the talent to do it. Just put him in position to go out there. Like, man, again, that is the biggest failure of the Freeze tenure, outside of wins and losses, right? Like, they could have stomached the administration wins and losses if the offense had not looked putrid. So, but you had every tool available to you to do it. You've got to figure out how to, if you're Alex Golesh, that's your goal, right? Like this year, the offense ain't going to be the reason. If we're losing games, somebody better look to the other side of the field and say, what's going on with the defense this year? But we're going to put up some points here at Auburn football while I'm here. But yeah, that's going to be a situation. But I talked about Deebo being potentially a leader for the defense. Now the question is, who's going to be the guy on offense that's going to lead this team, man? Where's the leadership going to come from on that side of the football? And it's got to be, honestly, one of them got to be the quarterback. And hopefully we'll get an answer for who's going to be that guy coming up here in a couple of weeks, because the transfer portal will open, and that quarterback question needs to get answered. We are going to answer some questions from you all, or some comments from you all, but we're going to get into a quick break here before we do. Coming up on the other side, let's kind of rehash a little bit of the potentials that may be coming into Alex Golesh's offense. Maybe let's speculate, you know, a little bit about some of that when we come back from this break. You all are watching the Midweek Report. Make sure that you have liked this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share the content with somebody. If you're over on X or you're over on Facebook, come join us over here on YouTube, because so many of the things that we do about conversations and things only happen on the YouTube platform, and we appreciate you guys following us in that way. We'll be right back with your comments. Midweek Report.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
The Rage Room. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Set up a session today at one of the 2 great locations in Opelika or Birmingham by visiting opelikaRageRoom.com or BirminghamRageRoom.com.
This episode of the War Report is brought to you by our friends at Iannone and Associates. Guys, you're contributing to your 401k, but is it invested the right way? Putting money into your plan is only half the battle. Most people never get help choosing their allocations, which is arguably the most important part. That's why Iannone and Associates offers a complimentary 401k review. They'll walk you through your options, discuss your goals, and give you clear, unbiased guidance on the specific options available in your plan. No cost, no commitment, just straightforward advice. Call AIMA at 912-777-4128 Again, that's 912-777-4128. Scan the QR code on your screen or visit AIMC.com to get your 401k review today. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's Iannone Moore & Associates for this endorsement. Abel's Iannone Moore & Associates is a SEC registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Sky Tobacco and Vape. Ever run out of vape juice and think, well, that's it? Well, not with Sky Tobacco and Vape around. They've got more locations than the Waffle House, Columbus, Phoenix City. They're everywhere. Whether you're on the thruway, the bypass, or just lost with bad directions, Sky Tobacco and Vape is probably right around the corner from where you're at. They've got vapes, tobacco, and deals so good, you'll swear they misprinted the price tags. Sky Tobacco and Vape, good vibes, great deals, and zero judgment if you walk in at 10 p.m. wearing your pajama pants. Guys, I want to thank our friends at SetsForSociety.ai. The road to knowing self starts at Sets for Society. They've got custom personality assessments to let you know a little bit more about how you think, how those around you think, and how you guys can best think as a team to achieve like goals. Visit SetsForSociety.ai today. Fill out the form. They'll reach back out and do the rest. Get to know yourself with Sets for Society. Join as a patron. $5.99 a month will get you there. This is going to be a long off season, but the War Report is going to be here with you for every single bit of it, reporting on breaking news, also bringing you all the content and interviews you can handle. You can help support that work by signing up as a patron. See if we can get a few more signups here before the end of the show. Also, you can give the gift to the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button. We appreciate our community for helping us grow our community. Last but certainly not least, subscribe on podcasts. You see the podcast right there in front of you. Just find your favorite podcast platform, hit subscribe, turn on automatic downloads, and leave us a review. We are working hard to bring you all your favorite Auburn content in audio-only format. It's right there waiting on you. All you got to do is subscribe and download.
Yep. All you got to do, subscribe, download, and we'll be there on podcast with you. We're here tonight answering your questions. Got a super sticker in here from Myriad Shallots. Thank you so much for that super sticker. War Eagle Steve, need Nike and Cam Coleman to drop that I'm back commercial during this weekend's college football playoff games. Just saying. Listen, I would love nothing other than, I said this at the beginning, more guys to go ahead and end the drama and just say, hey, man, I'm back. But I do think that guys still have processes that they're going through and trying to figure out what makes the most sense for them. But I would love to see it so that people can stop panicking. But I don't know that it's possible for fans to stop panicking. I think that's just part of the nature of fans until you know for sure. I always find it interesting where people are like, tell us what's going to happen. Does your lady do this? Like, you're watching a TV show or a movie that both of you have never seen before, and she asks you, oh my God, what's about to happen? I'm like, I'm watching this the first time just like you. Why are you asking me what's going to happen? Like, I can tell you what I think is going to happen, but you do realize I got to talk through the movie for us to do that.
That's funny. I'm just surprised that yours stays awake long enough to watch a movie with you. Every time I turn one on, she's out of La La Land 15 minutes in. So it takes us a month to get through one movie.
But that's kind of how people are about this stuff, where they're just like, tell me what's gonna happen. I'm like, listen, I can tell you what possibly could maybe happen. I can speculate with the best of them, and maybe I have a little more information towards my speculation, but I cannot predict the future. That is not what my job is here, is to predict the future. We don't even do like that kind of thing here, but it's so interesting that people do that. Apparently, and this, I've seen a couple of people talk about this. Mike, appreciate you jumping in. So Mars Williams coming back too? Did I see that right on X? Is that confirmed? There are people saying that both he and Bryce Kane, and what was the other name that I saw? The safety. God, what was the guy's? The true freshman safety. Why is my brain not doing this? He's from Birmingham too. That's crazy. Anyway, people have been saying that like they had like an IG live, separate IG lives, and when they were talking about like still being locked in or whatever, they haven't done the official graphics and announcements. But there have been some who have kind of low key confirmed, hey man, I'm still here. Don't worry about me. So definitely. No, it
Sylvester
wasn't.
Smith?
New boy, yes, Fagans. Thank you. It was Fagans. Was the other guy.
Antoine Fagans?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Fagans and Bryce Kane and Amaris have all put something out there about them potentially coming back next season to kind of, because people have just been asking like, yo, what's up with you? You rolling it back, you running it back, and they just like, look, man, I'm here, bro. Like, don't worry about me. So again, that's not anything that has gone out officially from the Auburn Twitter account or anything like that. But those young men have taken the initiative themselves to say, hey, yeah, I'm here. So that puts some people's mind to rest on a few players. There's still a lot more that's got to get worked out with a lot more folks. But on the other side of this, we only have one more Wednesday show before Christmas, Mike. And I know you've got some Christmas traveling you need to do. So I want to ask you, before you get too in-depth into the Christmas holidays, what would be your Christmas wish list for incoming players from the transfer portal? Not just guys that we retain. We know who the guys are. I think we can agree on who the guys we want to have retained the most are. You know, the Cam Colemans, the Deuce Knights, the Jeremiah Cobbs of the world. I don't know how much that list extends beyond those guys, other than a couple of linebackers. But we know who those folks are. Even if it's not a particular player, give me a position. Like, tell me what is on your Christmas wish list that Alex Golesh, if he's playing Santa, he can deliver to you from the transfer portal.
Deliver the 3 best offensive linemen in the portal. Wrap them up, put them under the tree. Just let me get 3 really, really good offensive linemen.
Okay.
It's got to be offensive line. I think Auburn has a lot of.
Let me pause right there, because the offensive line room, right? You're going to have Connor Lew coming back from injury. You'll have Kale Ellis, who played a little bit there at center as well, likely playing one of the guard spots. And then you've got some other potential guys who haven't played very much. But to your point, you've only got 2 really experienced offensive linemen returning next season, unless the other Xavier that didn't play so great out there at left tackle is coming back. So you do need some guys on the offensive line. So yeah, I think offensive line should be high on everybody's list. What else you got?
Did I mention offensive line? Because I really want them to go out and get offensive line. Look, I think right now, we're just doing offense, or we're just doing offense?
Anything. I don't care. What you wanted to bring in.
It might be time for them to bring in another dynamic running back. So give me another star running back alongside Jeremiah Cobb, and give me some better play in that defensive backfield as well too. Take those 3 things, put them under the tree under some competent coaching, assuming that the major pieces return, and I'm good to go. I think that this team is always very, 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 very close to just getting over that hump, right? And the 5-7 record, you know, I try to tell the Baylor fans this going into this game. I said I wouldn't get too invested in that 5-7 record from last year. You guys thinking that Auburn is going to be what they were the year before? They're very, very talented, and they got nearly run off the field in their own stadium by that offense. Couldn't keep up. And with one of the best passers in college football history on their team.
Right.
So, you know, if you give Auburn those 3 things, here for Christmas, headed into the spring, I think Alex Golesh is going to do some work here in the SEC next year.
I like your list. I definitely would concur with offensive line, particularly bring me another tackle, right? They got a great pickup recently in a true freshman that was originally committed to Michigan that came on board with this 2026 class now with Auburn. But I don't know that you want to throw a true freshman out there, but you need 1 or 2 additional offensive linemen. If you're talking top 3 in the portal, then you're likely meaning 3 starters. So that's going to be an interesting situation there for how they spend money along the offensive front. Got to give me a tight end, though. Got to.
Okay, just one. Okay, I think you need all room.
Like there's nobody in that tight end room that I've seen play. No disrespect, because Hollis Davidson has already hit the portal. We saw very little of any other tight end that was out there, available to play. I think maybe they could get some better play out of the tight end room with a little bit. We put a lot of things on scheme, but I do think a little bit of that has to do with the scheme. But like you got to have a good H-back tight end in this offense. So bring that in there, and I think that helps your run game immensely. I think it helps your ability to like the short screen game out immensely. So there's just so many things that position helps to make sure that you can do. It helps your pass blocking if you need to keep an additional blocker in there, right? So you've got a lot of stuff that's available to you that you can, again, Ryan G, I think, is kind of built to do that kind of thing, but he didn't get a lot of opportunities last year. So maybe he's in waiting and he can get molded into that. But bring me somebody else into that room for competition purposes, and maybe somebody who's a little bit more experienced, and see what they can do there. Pass rush. Somebody got to go get after these quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Man. I need to see that. I need to somebody who is just unblockable off the edge, because you're losing Kieron Crawford, who, listen, man, that Bama game, he was terrorizing Ty Simpson for large portions of that Bama game. You're losing one of your best pass rushers. Now you've got some studs in that freshman class that maybe could fit that bill, but like, go get one of them dudes that, and I love what Amaris Williams brings, but go get me a good buck linebacker pass rusher, and I would love that. And the way this defense is shaping up right now, maybe go get me a cornerback, right? Like, go get me an outside corner that can lock it down. And I think that those would be my top three. Now, again, I ain't gonna hold you. Byrum Brown would be nice. He's a baller. I don't know if he's like at the top of my list, because I do believe in Deuce Knight. But if you can go get Byrum Brown too, and you can keep Deuce Knight, then I sign me up for that package all day and tomorrow, right? Like, I'll take that for sure. But those would be my top three things out there if I was wishing for the transfer portal Christmas wish list for myself. And let me just say this: that idea is not something unique that I did. That's Dylan Lark did the Christmas list thing. So I want to give shout out to him for having that idea. I did borrow that from you, Dylan. Thank you so much for the inspiration for that.
Well, for Christmas, we're going to be giving our listeners a segment with Ben Leard, former Auburn quarterback, here weekly. He's going to join the show. Talk to him today. Obviously, big fan of the War Report. I am a big fan of Ben Leard. And so we're just going to fan out together here on an Auburn Express segment. So, this idea about what you just talked about them bringing in Byrum Brown but keeping Deuce, can't wait to hear Ben's take shared with everybody on this particularly. I mean, he came up in a different time of college football, and it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see and hear how people feel about how he feels about this whole thing, man. Golesh has some decisions to make. And as long as those decisions wind up with Auburn winning 8 games next year, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
No matter what I say about how I feel before it, if it lands up with 8 wins, I'm going to be good with it, at least to some extent. Now,
we can debate about what Auburn is right now, what it should be as an 8-win football team consistently at the floor.
Easily,
and
with the talent.
Got to get back to that place, man, of your people are fearing you on the schedule because you're one player away from being playoff team, not one player away from being bowl eligible.
I tried to tell Baylor fans this headed into that game. I kept telling them they were so wrapped up in that 5-7 record. I was like, yeah, but there is a ton of talent on this team. I don't think y'all are understanding how loaded Auburn was and how mismanaged the talent was the year before. And no matter how bad you think Hugh Freeze is, they've got the talent to run you off the field, because these are dogs everywhere. Yeah. At wide receiver, when Cam went, Jackson didn't throw a perfect ball, but you remember that crossing route where he threw up the Cam in that game?
Mm-hmm.
Cam high points the football, and it's like, woo. That was just a taste. That was just a taste. And I will tell you, I can say this. There are not many players that this coaching staff came in and said, "Ooh, we got to keep this guy." Cam Coleman was one of those dudes.
Right.
That they were like, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter what the system is that we're bringing. You're a fit. What do we got to do to make sure Cam Coleman is an Auburn Tiger next year? If they can keep enough of those guys, like mix in some of their guys.
That's the recipe,
Brown,
man.
There's an idea. I think that Byrum Brown to Cam Coleman might break records.
That's the recipe, is get enough guys from your old squad, right? Like if you're talking about potential, USF guys that come over here, there's a couple of receivers, there's a couple of, DBs that played for that team that I think can play at this level. Bring them on in here, man, and let's see how they compete at this level. They had some talent on that squad, and you mix in, like you said, you mix in some of the talented guys that were already playing in this SEC, and they know the physicality and all that thing, and you mix in guys that are just flat out play. Man, listen, again, if Byrum Brown comes to Auburn, when I do the film review, I'm going to show some stuff, and I'm like, nah, this dude could just flat out play football, bro. Like, forget all of that. Oh, but he only did it in the American. No. Listen, the DBs are going to be faster. The defensive ends are going to be, I get all that. Watch the film of him versus P4 competition and watch him running over defensive backs. You're like, nah, this dude, he just built differently, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, look, if you're going to bring him in here, you better go get 8. That's
you got to be in win now mode if he's your quarterback. You got to be in. We're going for a title this year, not and let me be clear on this before this happens. If Byrum Brown comes in the transfer portal, I've been saying 8 wins is the floor. No, sir. We're at 10 now.
Really? Okay. You're at 10?
You got to be at 10 wins if you're going to go get a 1-year rental guy. You're not bringing him in for no 8 wins. What are we doing?
Listen, I feel that this is all I'm saying. People are misconstruing my feelings on Brown coming in. And I'm like, how close is this team going to be to championship level next year?
You better put all of your stock in figuring that out if you go get a guy that you know is only coming for 1 year.
Yeah.
That's what your goal has to be now. Not we're gonna figure 8. No, sir. 1-year rental quarterback better be championship aspiration.
Well, I said this already. I said, look, man, if he's going to be Cam Newton, bring him in.
Yeah. And I'm not saying this dude is Cam. My entire point is, if you are leveraging the success of next season on a 1-year guy at the most important position, that guy better be able to put you in championship contention. So build the kind of squad around him that conversation becomes real.
And at the risk of blowing up your quarterback room.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Correct.
Because here's the thing, right? The one QB guy they had, right, decommitted. Yeah, you not. So at some point you have to start a pipeline of quarterbacks where your next guy is a guy who,
or you're going to be right back in the transfer portal year after year.
Listen, Freeze got this right, or he was trying to get this right. The problem was it kept missing on that bridge guy. Now, I think that it wasn't the guy that they were missing on. It was just the whole system was crap. But the idea was right. Payne Thorne was the one that was supposed to get you through the first couple of years.
He was supposed to, like you said, he's your bridge.
Yep, to a Walker White maturing into an SEC QB, and then you go get the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. And look, man, Georgia did this so well that they landed up with 3 starting QBs in their QB room at one time, and they were in a position where it was going to blow up, but only for a guy they were going to pick internally, though. Their choices were 3 guys they had on the roster. And if you don't remember this, it was Fromm, Eason, and Fields. you could argue Fields was the best out of that group. They let him
I
go to
mean, I
Ohio
think that's a
State.
valid art because I mean, the other guys have barely taken an NFL snap. So
Fields was the best out of that group. Eason went to Washington, played well there. Fromm stayed at Georgia, but Fields was the best one.
yeah, he had the best collegiate career after he left, and is the only one again that had a significant NFL career after he left.
I want to see that from Auburn at QB, where again, if you bring Byrum Brown in, it's only because it's setting up that pipeline of QBs that will come in after him, where you're not back in the portal looking for a $2 million QB again.
Or if you're paying $2 million, it's to the guy, like it needs to be an Arch Manning situation where everybody's like, okay, I know Quinn Ewers is the guy right now, but Arch is the guy next year.
Like, should they have gone out and maybe made a strong pitch to get Cam Ward to Auburn last year? And then you get a guy like Deuce ready while Cam Ward balls. You still have
what
your
they thought
job.
Jackson Arnold was going to be, honestly. They thought Jackson Arnold was going to be the 1 year bridge guy.
But that was my point. They kept missing at that bridge guy. And so now the next year you're desperate. And you don't want to bet your career on a kid who hasn't really started.
Yeah.
So you get stuck in that cycle, Ike, of going back to the portal looking for a 1 year savior to just start the cycle.
And that's honestly, like, if we're being honest, that's where Miami is right now.
Yeah.
Miami, every year, they're going out and they're spending $2-3 million on a quarterback to try to get over the hump so that they can figure out how to get themselves back into that championship conversation.
It's like going to the washing machine with a bucket full of clothes, putting them in, putting the detergent in, and then walking away and forgetting to hit the button.
Or even worse, you hit the button and you wash it, but then you leave it in there for days. And now you gotta wash the whole thing.
You gotta start all over again.
Yeah.
It's been sitting in the washing machine wet.
Yeah.
For 12 hours. So they've got to get this right. If Brown, I would love to hear what the strategy is to bring a kid in that has only 1 year. If he's got to be significantly better than what you have if you're bringing them in here. But if you're only going to go win 7 games, I want to see you do that with Deuce.
Right. That's why I say you have to raise the floor of what
you got to raise the bar if you're going to bring this kid in here, and that's the one area where I will be tight on this staff.
Yeah,
you're going to bring him in here
because again, that's your thing. Offense and quarterback evaluation and play is your thing. So you can't get this wrong.
Yeah.
The last 2 guys kept getting this wrong, and that was supposed to be their thing.
My feelings on this, Ike, have been misconstrued and misunderstood, and people in the comment section like, if you don't stop talking about this, Mike G, I'm gonna stop watching. I've been saying this. Turn us on, turn us up. If you are tired of hearing about this, turn us off. I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk about it until I see the results.
Yeah, but it's a worthy conversation.
Yeah,
like I don't know how you avoid it.
Yeah, as a fan though, I've been so hurt and disappointed by this very topic for years now.
Yes.
Why is it every other school can find a damn quarterback? At least to play on an average level.
Kentucky found a quarterback last year.
Kentucky.
Come on, man.
Yeah, listen.
Lane Kiffin went in the bargain bin and picked up a quarterback last year.
Kentucky.
I listen, man. It is competency at the quarterback position consistently for 12 games has been lacking.
Yeah.
Alex Golesh has to get this right, man. And again, and I'm going to say it again as emphatically as I said it the first time. If you go and get a 1 year guy, you better be telling me we're championship or bust this year.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear all this. No, we got to reset and blah, blah. No, this team should have won more games this year. No, you're not going to go get a 1 year rental quarterback and tell me, oh, we're just going, 7. No.
I will be even more impressed if he brings him in here. This kid wins the job and he's willing to bench him if the standard of play is not up to what they felt like it should be. These evaluations aren't exact sciences, right? A kid can look good in practice and completely shit the bed when it's time for the lights to turn on. Or, you know what? They can look terrible in practice, and for some reason, once you put them under the lights, they're gangbusters.
That's the beauty of the Byrum Brown situation, though, is because Alex Golesh already knows what he can do on a game day, right? Like, you don't have to guess. Now, you can have an inkling maybe of what it'll be about consistent competition against guys at this level, whether or not it's going to translate.
Right.
But you know what you're getting as far as, you know, what his leadership is like on the field in the huddle.
Okay. So if it does not go well, you should be able to arrive at whether it's time to move on,
quickly pivot
faster.
off of it.
Yes, faster. Yes, and that's why that's where I will come in and agree with you. I'm like, look, you already know what this kid is made of.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't translate, we don't need to sit here and listen to you week after week like we did with Freeze. Make excuses for a kid who should already have it together. That was what was so frustrating about Jackson Arnold. You played at this level. You played in this league. You played against a lot of the opponents that he faced at Auburn.
Right.
Go do it consistently. That's why we brought you in here.
Correct.
If I want a project, I got freshmen that I recruited that are projects.
Yeah. If listen,
Brown cannot be a project.
That's like the old car that you have, and it's like, you know, they don't, cars like this ain't around no more. But you know, when they had those old school cars, you had, you know, like, oh no, you gotta let it sit for a second, and then, you know, if you bump this one time, then it'll you know, start the right way. If you got to tap the cylinder right here, type of stuff. But that was your car. You knew how to get it to operate the way that it needed to. This is Alex Golesh's car, and you know, this is if I turn the key 3 times and, you know, let it idle for a minute, then it's going to crank up. You should be able to push all the correct buttons that nobody else can to make this car operate in its premium way.
Let me, I know we get the comment. I just want to talk about this comment right here. Bring in a killer that knows offense through and through, or take a wild gamble on a redshirt freshman, not even a choice. The problem that I have with this comment is the characterization of playing Deuce Knight as a wild gamble. You will have had him for a whole offseason, and this won't be in his first year in college football.
And what did he say he does? We find ways to take the talent of the players we have and build the offense around them.
Right. Yeah. Deuce Knight should not be a wild gamble. He shouldn't be. That's it. He won't be a true freshman anymore. As a matter of fact, after Mercer, in my mind, he stopped being a freshman. He got to do something that a lot of QBs at this level never get to do, and that's start a whole college football game. He did pretty damn well. I don't care if it was Mercer.
Yeah, he balled out in that game. Point blank.
Come on, man. So we should not. These top 50 overall kids. This is why Bo Nix was so polarizing. Because he was a top 50 overall kid that came in here, and those are supposed to be your can't miss projects. That's what made him so polarizing. The expectations on him were high because of how highly regarded he was coming in. It seems like Auburn fans and a few other fan bases who are not used to consistent winning are the only ones who can't grasp this concept. So you think Deuce is a wild gamble. He's not. You need a pipeline. He's a kid that you recruited. The issue was the last coach that was here for 8 years, Gus, never really did it with freshman QBs. Everybody's so used to these guys who are largely being developed in other places coming into Auburn and finding success. The issue I have with this is that we weren't the ones who did the developing. Cam Newton didn't get developed at Auburn. He was Cam. He just came here and he was Cam. But and Auburn provided the platform for him to go out and win a national title. But Gus didn't make Cam. Cam made Gus.
Correct. See number of national titles Gus has won since Cam Newton.
Come on, man. Let's keep it a buck. I want that same feeling. I just want it from some of the high school kids at some point. And if I have any bias, it's towards that. If Byrum Brown had been the kid that had been recruited here, was highly regarded, I'd want to see him finish it in an Auburn uniform. But look, if there is a way, so I want to make sure I set the record straight on this. If there is a way, a thing that they can sell to Deuce to wait one more year, and let this Byrum Brown kid come in, I am all about that. I think people have fallen into thinking that we're against the idea of these two guys being on the same roster. The issue that I think they have to overcome is that while Deuce, I can confidently say, is okay with maybe losing a real quarterback competition, you're going to have a hard time selling to him that this is going to be a real quarterback competition. And
that's a tough sell. I don't know how you sell him that and with any level of confidence.
Yeah, even if you mean it, you've got to understand that to believe it, he's really got to believe in you. What you're really selling is you. You have to believe the messenger to believe that message. And that's an uphill battle, man. He don't know you. He just met you. So it's going to have to be your best sell job ever. You're going to have to convince someone who hates sweets to buy cheesecake from you. That's what this is going to be like. This is going to have to be your best sell job. I promise you, if you beat Byrum out truly, you'll start. And if you can convince him of that, I will feel super confident about your ability to convince anybody of anything in recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. I think the premium of what they need to be doing is not necessarily convincing him of something that is. If you truly go out there and outplay this guy who's got a bunch of experience, then you deserve the starting. That just needs to be the pitch. Like, bro, if I know what he can do, and he's gonna come in here and he's gonna push you to the maximum. But if you find a way to outplay him in the spring, then we gotta play you. But it's gonna take a lot. I'm just telling you that right now.
I would feel bad for Brown in this scenario, though, and this is why. Do you think there is a place that John Mateer would have gone in the portal last year if he
wasn't the starter? No.
That is my point. If you stayed at Oklahoma in that QB room, you knew Mateer was going to start if he came in. You knew he was going to start. So it's the competition thing. People will be like, because I've seen, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because I've seen people on social media say, well, if he's scared to compete, he don't need to be here anyway. No, that's not the issue. The issue is not about being scared to compete. It's about whether it's going to actually be a competition. Because what you cannot beat is the bias that a certain coach may have, and you have to factor in what these kids just went through with Hugh Freeze.
Right.
He just watched a coach that made him every promise in the world in recruiting hand the job to Jackson Arnold and then refused to pivot for 9 games until he got fired. I mean, he was practically fired by the time that he pivoted. That's how deep his bias ran. And that's not Golesh's fault.
Right.
But it is
the unfortunate reality is none of this. Like,
none of this
is you inherited.
Yeah.
The situation you walked into, what players feel about Auburn and the program, like none of that is your fault. And you're stepping. But that's why we hired you, because we thought you were the guy that was going to come in here and get this right.
Yeah. So it is. This will be the fascinating thing to watch. B Will used to hate when I talked about this, but this is why I'm such a big fan of having a pipeline of guys. I thought when I thought when Saban pulled Hurts in that national title game back in 2017 to put Tua in was one of the greatest coaching decisions I've watched. Every coach would die on that hill with Hurts.
You know what that was? That was taking a gamble on a guy with a bunch of talent in a situation, and it mattered the absolute most at the
that was
most
a
crucial time.
wilder gamble on the outside looking in than Deuce. That was a wilder gamble in a national title game, in the middle of a national title game. Not we decided to go with him and we gave him 2 weeks to prepare. No, we pulled the plug on the guy that's won all but like 2 games here. And then not only did it work out, that kid stepped in and threw the winning touchdown in a national title game in overtime.
After having made a bad play earlier.
Mm-hmm. Both Hurts leaves Alabama, goes to New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony the very next year. After he leaves Alabama. And both those guys are starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now. You know why it was easier for Saban to pull the plug on Hurts for Tua? Because he grew both of those guys in his lab.
Right. I've seen both of them during practices. I know exactly which again goes back to what we said before. Brown comes in because you've had the entire offseason. If Deuce Knight stays and he's struggling, then I can go to Deuce Knight. No problem. Like if the offense ain't doing what I thought it was going to do, and the level of competition consistently is too much for this guy, I can go to Deuce because I've seen what he put in the offseason. I've actually attended quarterback meetings, yes, that's intended as a shot, and I know exactly what's going on in this room. So I'm confident I can go to my other guy here because it's not a talent situation. It is I can put him in a position to win.
I can't stress enough. This was the thing that Freeze did get right. He just never got there. And it was he wanted to break the cycle of consistently going to the portal looking for a savior at QB. And when they declined to chase Cam Ward for $2 million, they said, you know what? Peyton will get us through next season. And then one of these dynamic freshmen that we have will be ready to take the reins. And with the talent that we put around them, we should be able to go to the next level. The idea, although they never executed it, the idea was absolutely right. The problem with the methodology was they weren't developing nobody. So you were never going to have that kid that was going to step up and take over unless he was just that dude. And, the process of development eliminates the luck factor in it for you, which is why it would not be a wild gamble. And this is, I'm not attacking TK, right, for his comment. I'm saying that this is part of why I think Auburn fans are so jaded, is because we haven't seen this. So it's hard to grasp this concept, and you're looking at Deuce Knight as a wild gamble. No, he's not a wild gamble. He's not. I think he went out and he showed us that versus Mercer. It's only a wild gamble if you are not teaching and developing.
Right. But again, that's why I say I put different expectations on those two situations. With Deuce Knight, I'm back at hey, man, we can get to 8 wins. You got to have, bounce here or there. But again, if you go get a 1-year rental guy, my expectations now is that you're going for it out the gate.
We're one player away from a championship if we're going to risk. Because I think, okay, again, can't stress enough, Ashton Daniels should be gone. I don't think he's officially announced, but there's no way I see if he wants to play his last year, he's got to be out.
If he's the one, like that just means he loves Auburn that much, and he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna go start anywhere else. I really don't want to go do this whole move to another town. Let me just ride out this last year, and who knows what happens
on football. He stays here, in my opinion, right? Yeah, but Auburn saved his red shirt. That was the right thing to do. So you've got Deuce, and then you've got any freshman that you could bring in, or if you're going to go to the portal and get more than one QB, you'll have whoever you bring in.
Right.
If you're Golesh, man, like Freeze did some of the hard work for you in terms of bringing in A-level
base
talent.
level of talent, yeah.
Yeah, he did that work for you. So figure out a way to keep him and then start building on that. This kid could have gone anywhere. Deuce could have gone a lot of places. He came to Auburn, and it kills me when I hear fans act like if this kid walks out the door, we could just find another one. No, it's the same with Cam Coleman. You can't just go find another one.
And let me be clear while agreeing with you. That doesn't mean that Auburn would not be successful without them, but that's
Correct.
not the same as saying that, oh, there's another one of them.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you can be successful without that
find
person.
success,
That doesn't
correct.
mean that that person ain't special.
You need culture. You need all the things that Alex Golesh talked about, but you also just need dogs, man. You need guys who are better than the other guys. You need a quarterback that can outduel the quarterback on the other side of the field. And, you know, even though they didn't win the game, when Auburn played Vanderbilt, it was the first time in a really, really long time I felt like I was watching quarterback play that wasn't going to hold Auburn back in those moments. Ashton Daniels went absolutely nutty in that game, over 70% completion percentage, almost ran for 100 yards. He would have been a 130-yard rusher if not for that hold by Preston Howard. It was fun watching that because these kids were playing at the max of their potential, it felt like, during that game offensively. And the team, I take a lot of stock in what the players tell me about certain guys. They really, really believe in Deuce. That's not to say that Byrum isn't good and they wouldn't believe in him too. I'm just saying, if you're Golesh and you're going to do this, whatever your sell job it is to Deuce. And what a lot of these kids appreciate is they appreciate honesty. I'm not going to lie to you. If Byrum comes in here, he's going to have a leg up on you in terms of understanding our concepts and what we like to do and how we like to do it. But here's how you can go take the job from him. Now, I'm not sure if that's an effective sell, but honesty does not hurt you at all because they're not stupid. And they've also got people in their ear. It killed me to see Bo go to Oregon and get all the praise and all the stuff that it should have happened right here at Auburn. It kills me when I see kids who Auburn recruited and invested in pick up and leave and go other places and then find all the success. I don't want to.
Mostly because they were not placed in the position to be successful at
Correct.
Auburn.
Correct.
Listen, due to no fault of their own from a talent perspective, they weren't put in scenarios in which they could maximize their potential. And that is the job of this next coach, is to find out how to take these talented players and put them in positions to maximize their ability. There should not be another season that we have a season preview and say, is this the year Auburn has a 1,000-yard receiver? I'm tired of having this conversation in the offseason when you've got 5-star talent sitting in your wide receiver room. I'm tired of having the conversation about whether or not Auburn is going to make a bowl like that. Can we erase those conversations and start talking about resetting records?
Here's what was frustrating about Perry was you brought Eric Singleton Jr. in here. You presumably dumped a bunch of money on him. And did he do anything that Perry couldn't have done with proper development? A kid that committed to you. And not only did you bring Eric in here, you ran a system that limited the opportunities that Perry could get alongside Eric Singleton. I didn't understand it. So if you're Golesh, you have these same types of conversations that you're going to have. If Byrum Brown comes, he won't be the only one. Don't be shocked if a USF receiver or two doesn't come along over. The only person not worried about their spot if they stay is Cam Coleman. There is a universal recognition across the college football world that kid has generational talent. There's some folks in our comments who have an issue with me using that word generational. I'm telling you, if you don't recognize Cam Coleman as a generational talent, you just don't know ball. His numbers may not be generational, but that's not Cam's issue.
Again, that has to do with utilization, not talent.
Not talent.
And the conversation is about talent. No one said Cam Coleman puts up generational numbers so far in college. That's not what's said. What was said is he has a generational talent.
Right.
His ability is there.
So when Cam got here and we asked Freeze about Coleman, he was like, I don't even know, guys, he's going to start. He's going to play game 1. End of discussion. You've been recruiting those types of kids the last 2.5 years.
Right.
End of discussion type kids. So if you're going to bring others in, they better immediately produce for you. If Bryce Kane is another one, man, this kid is a saint. Bryce Kane is an absolute saint. He's a great teammate. He's just very patiently waited his turn. You went out and you got all these kids, and then they spent an ungodly amount of money last offseason, making sure none of those guys walked.
Which is why some of those guys are walking this offseason, because they're like, no, we're not re-upping that.
We're not doing this again, right?
Yeah.
Because there were some folks who got really upset about me asking the 10 personnel question, but it was still relevant, which is why I kept asking it. Are we going to see more 10 personnel? You know why? Because you recruited receivers for that, but you're running something else. And then when Freeze got fired, and we saw 5 wide out there. Get all the talent on the field, man. You recruited for 10 personnel. And you're running 12 and 11. Your best players are on the bench while we are watching Preston Howard fail in real time.
Right.
Perry Thompson is a better football player than Preston Howard. Perry Thompson is a better football player than Preston Howard. I'm really passionate about this because it just, man, you did the thing that's really hard to do, and you amassed an incredible amount of talent and convinced all these kids to come here to play together. And they all believed that there would be enough football to go around. A lot of you guys heard me tell this story back in 2003. In the offseason, it was widely believed in the athletic department that either Ronnie or Cadillac was going to go pro. No one thought that both of those guys would come back. Tuberville brought in Al Borges, and they sat those guys down and said, this thing can work. I promise you. I promise you can work. And when they both announced they were coming back, we barely had Facebook at this point, guys. We're like, whoa, how did they pull that off? I don't know if there was some pre-NIL stuff going on there, Ike, but they convinced both those dudes to come back. And not only did they convince them to come back, they delivered on their promise to make both of them stars. The backup, who was technically Ronnie, got drafted number 2 overall. Cadillac went 5. Devin, Ben, Anthony Mix, all those guys got on the field and had an impact in a season that forever changed college football. 2004 Auburn. That's what I want to see from Alex Golesh. Put together something that creates opportunities for all the guys. They had to believe in those guys to come back, though. Both Ronnie and Cadillac did. There was no question that Jason was the quarterback. They all believed in it. At that point, they knew about Ben and Devin. And I'm like, okay, well, if Auburn could do that, then why can't we do this now?
You absolutely can, but you have to have the right plan. And again, that it was definitely a different time. The decision for those guys was go to the NFL or come, like, it wasn't transfer portal and all this other stuff. So again, I go back to what I said earlier. This idea that the Auburn players you love were just so in love with Auburn that they would have never considered entering the transfer portal. I'm here to tell you that is a fantasy world that you have created in and of yourself. I know some of these guys personally, right? So like, stop. That's not a real thing. If the transfer portal were an option for some of those young men, they would have taken it the same way a lot of people throughout history have decided this situation isn't good for me. I'm moving on to a different one. Yeah. So it is what it is. It's the reality that we live in right now. Young players are going to move around. They're going to come and go. Yes, there's money involved in those conversations and those decisions. And all of that is fine. At the end of the day, in the midst of all of that, because every college team is going through this same chaos, Alex Golesh has to field the best team possible next season. And I don't know that there's going to be a lot of room for excuses if the talent and the resources that are available to accumulate new talent is there for him to be able to walk back into game after game. And you hear, guys, we're almost there. Nobody wants to hear that this year. I'm sorry, Alex. I apologize in advance that you don't get the we're close sentiment from most people. We've heard we're close too many times. You started at a different place than the we're close guy did. You started at a higher place. So we need to see we build on it, figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah, this is going to be such an interesting offseason. There's going to be no lack of drama this offseason. But, they've got to figure out a way to move this thing forward here. We're ending our time here. We've been on almost 90 minutes. But Tommy Tuberville tried to tell Hugh Freeze, reportedly this offseason, if you don't have a quarterback, you're cooked. Go get Diego Pavia. And the pivot may have saved his job for at least another year. And when we sit down, it's something that I'm going to talk to Freeze about the idea that whether or not did you lose your job because you were unable to see that there was another avenue you needed to take. Were you so stuck on a system and a process and a way of doing things that wasn't ever going to work, at least here at Auburn, that you lost your job over it? Because, and I'm telling you, you cannot tell me there wasn't another methodology in the room with him. There definitely was. Because as soon as he got fired, they went the opposite direction in how they were running it.
Right.
As soon as he got fired, they started doing crazy different things. Not crazy in terms of what they were doing, just in terms of what he was doing. Relative to what he was running, they went a completely different direction. So there was at least an idea in the room by people you hired that there was a better way to do things. And if you had trusted those people,
kind of trusted those guys, then
you must have your job.
Different situation.
Yeah, you didn't really need credit for that. You're the coach, and you take all the blame and the credit at the end of the day anyway. Just let those guys do what they do. You let Durkin do it.
I understand wanting to take your destiny into your own hands, but that's why you hire effectively. Like, you hire guys to trust them to do their job.
Well, the conversation lately has been about the CEO approach versus what it was in the past, and whether coaches can be as intimately involved in certain aspects of game planning and stuff and still be an effective CEO. Like I know, we worked in the business world, that you have to be able to delegate and trust.
Right.
And if you cannot do that, that means that you've got to do everything for it to run right, which means you are what we call the single point of failure for your organization. Right. What is the single point of failure? It means that if you pull you out, everything falls apart. That's not a very well-built organization. So, especially in something like football, college football, so many moving parts. But there are key pieces that you do need to keep in place. Do you remember this? Have you seen the documentary about the breakup of the Bulls in the 90s?
Yes.
Right. And they talked about Jerry Krause, and he was on this mission to prove that Phil and Michael were not bigger than the organization.
Right.
He was wrong. Bad bet.
Bulls
Bad
ain't
bet.
won nothing since then,
Yeah,
bro.
bad bet, Jerry. You broke up a dynasty to prove a point, and then you never proved it. Now, I think he has since, passed away, and rest in peace, Jerry Krause. But boy, I tell you, I mean, the stories about his ego were not flattering. What I love about Alex Golesh is it doesn't feel like there's that kind of ego there. I've met these guys, man. I'm telling you, Ike, they all act a certain way. You can see the social cues when you meet these people. The arrogance just it comes off them like a stench, a proverbial stench. And in the 2 times that I've been around Alex Golesh, just close enough to shake his hand, I've not sensed any of that. We connected, I texted him and I let him know, hey, listen, man, you're not really an Auburn man until you go get some Guthries. Double fries, no slaw. Thank me later. But he just doesn't seem like he's more. He doesn't act like he's more important than anybody else. And that's refreshing. His staff, the few people on his staff that I've had the pleasure of being able to connect with them, saying I get the same thing. But you know what Ike stands out in all those interactions with his staff. They all really believe in him and his process.
Listen, that's a good start. That's the way in which you build something that allows you to have the right kind of continuity that builds championship processes, which will build a championship culture. And hopefully that spills over into some leadership that gives you a championship team. But it's got to start with people believing and buying into that total process in the coaching staff.
In 2.5 years, I never spoke to a single free staffer that talked about him the way that Alex Golesh's staff talks about him. Not one. So I do believe that it has a chance to be different. And, look, man, we have to give Alex Golesh some grace. If he makes a decision if they miss on a starter or evaluation or anything like that, there's got to be some grace there for him. But where the judgment will come from me is your ability to pivot off of that bad decision and say, you know what, we got this wrong, but now we're going to get it right.
Yeah.
That's it. And he can do that.
That's what great coaches can do.
Yeah. He will say, all right. Like, if you can do that, I'm good, because there's a human element to this that we can't ignore. And he's going to get some things wrong at times. Can he pivot? Can he say, we got this wrong, and now we're going to get it right? So this is going to be this is going to be a really fun offseason. I'm looking forward to all the great conversations we're going to have with players and staff and Alex Golesh himself this offseason. I mentioned to you, we're working hard to bring you guys more perspective from different places. Ben Leard is joining our rotation of Auburn Express guests to come talk Auburn football weekly. I love having a former Auburn quarterback joining the conversation here weekly with us. So should be really great content that we have this spring headed into the fall. I feel pretty confident, man. Nobody else is doing this, man. We are working hard here, and I hope that the product that we're talking about is a winning one come October. I hope they get through September, and we are full of hope headed into October that Alex Golesh is going to turn Auburn football around in 2026 and then start building towards something really great for 27 and 28.
That is the sincere hope of all the Auburn fans. Well, let's get over here before we get out of here. There's a lot of chats here, quite a few super chats we need to get to. Start off with 9-time champion says, maybe we need another Jumbotron. Oh, we tried that. A little sarcasm there from him. Colton says, all I want for Christmas is a tight end who can catch a 5-yard hitch route without fumbling.
All right.
Is that fumbling it as well? It's not. Is that if that's not too much to ask? I don't think it's too much to ask. Little 5-yard route to get you, into 3rd and short, or pick up a little quick 3rd and short. War Eagle Steve says, thoughts on coaching staff now that it's complete. Listen, there's a lot of experience on this staff. On the defensive side, you've got a lot of guys who were former defensive coordinators. That could either go amazingly or terribly, right? You've got a bunch of guys who are used to being the guy. Are they willing to be,
Wait,
they took the job.
Guy?
What's the guy's name?
It's
the guy who his son's on the staff already. Hold on. Larry Scott. There you go. Larry Scott.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Sorry. I was a little out of it the last couple of days.
So they've got, I think they've got a good, to your point about the offensive guys that have already bought into what Alex Golesh wants to do. He brought in Cody Burns and he brought in his quarterback guy, his offensive coordinator, right? He went and got guys he's worked with in the past who understand his system, the guys that know how to teach the stuff well. He's going to let his recruiting staff be the recruiters and let his coaches on the field be the closers with their competency in all that. Got a defensive staff that's been there, done that around the SEC, right? I think it's a very good compilation of guys. Question is, again, for the defensive staff, how much are they going to buy into DJ Durkin's philosophy of what they want to do? How well can they put together schemes and game plans that maximize everything for them? And how many years are you going to be able to maintain that level of talent that you've accumulated in your – because, listen, we just had this whole conversation about these young men running for the next opportunity in NIL. Don't you think those coaches are doing the same thing? We got former defensive coordinators that are in position coaching places, spots on this Auburn staff. The next opportunity that presents itself, those guys are going to be running to take that check too. Are we going to tell them that they're disloyal to Auburn? Oh, my God, I can't believe you need to – like, man, let these folks go do what they do. Think it's a good staff.
Right.
Ken Lee, gifted 10 memberships. Thank you so much for that. He comes back with a super chat. What's the better option? Bring in Brown and get to the playoffs, or build Deuce this next year for a potential playoff showing in 27? I don't know that I had 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Potential playoffs. I just think that you raise the expectations to playoffs if you bring Brown in. And you put yourself in a position where, like, you better hope that freshman that you had committed to USF is good if Deuce Knight walks out of the door, because you're going to be back in the transfer portal again, or you're going to be starting a redshirt freshman in year 2. But again, I don't know that either of the. I'd take both of those scenarios, is what I'm saying to you. So I'm not sure that one is better than the other, but I'm always going to lean in the favor of the one that has the more wins more immediately, just because that's the selfish fan in me.
Yeah, it just depends. What's the better option? Bring Brown in and get to the playoffs, or build Deuce? If you're going to get to the playoffs, I think that there potentially are some recruiting things that fix itself. So it's hard, man. I mean, when you say get to the play, that means Auburn has a real shot at a national title this year.
Right.
So I'm all about that.
Yeah.
I'm if you tell me Auburn has a shot at a national title this year, I mean, that's bigger than Deuce Knight, any single player. Right. So
because it changes the perspective of what your program could potentially be.
Correct,
it puts you in a different conversation.
And you could potentially go out and get your next Deuce Knight. But again, like you said, you're still going to be in that quarterback portal the very next season looking for another bridge guy so that you can try to have some time to get a freshman ready to be the guy. At some point, Auburn needs to be able to break the cycle of looking for a starter for the next season in the portal. That's where I'm at about this. And I'm hoping that we see this. I just think, like, when you look at the winning programs, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, right? It's not portal guys that are coming in consistently to quarterback these programs. They're guys that they're recruiting out of high school and that they're getting ready for the job. I mean, Georgia believed in it so much, right? They went to their walk-on guy, Stetson. They gave him a shot before they went to the portal to go find somebody. And they still brought in JT Daniels, and Daniels won, got and they ended up with Stetson, and they never went back.
Right.
I just, man, I don't know. I just feel like they just have to get this right, and you'll put my mind at ease. So, this is a really good question, by the way. Canlay. I wish I knew how to pronounce this comment.
I go between Lee and Lay often. I don't know.
Canlay, the Canlay. Because they're a prolific super chatter. But this is a great question. I think that if the answer is the first option, bring Brown in and get to the playoffs, then you bring Brown in. If you think you're going to get to the playoffs, you bring him in 100%. That's what you're playing for.
Yeah.
And a lot of that will have to do with how much of the core of this team they can keep together. And if they can't, how much of that can you replace in this portal season? It won't just be Brown. You've got to bring in enough other pieces to fill the gaps of the guys who left to be a playoff team next year. So that's a big reason why you keep DJ Durkin, because at least on the defensive side of the ball, you're keeping a lot of the guys that will be the core of that. And then you let Durkin, and then you have the resources to go out and get the guys that Durkin needs. If a couple guys like Jay Crawford decide that they're gone. Okay, all right, we'll go find the next Jay Crawford, because that's what we do here.
But you got other pieces with it.
Yeah, I have a lot less worry about this on defense because they've got proof of concept.
Yeah, when you got a good process, then you can switch out pieces and it can reasonably work, or the expectation is that it can reasonably work. But let's be clear, Jay Crawford is a big part of that process, and hopefully they can work something out. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. Felix jumps in. I'd rather have Deuce because he gives me 2 to 3 years than Brown for 1, because maybe Brown doesn't give us 3,000 passing yards. Nobody really knows. I know what I get with Deuce. No disrespect. I seen it. I don't know that you know what you get with Deuce. I mean, you've got a good inkling about it. Like, he definitely has all the talent, but you haven't seen him over the process of multiple games. You haven't seen him when he raises up the scouting report for somebody and they're like, okay, this is what the tendencies are. These are the ways that we're going to be able to scheme it. You don't know any of that stuff yet about Deuce Knight. But you have a good feeling about what his talent and ability affords you. So I don't know that I would, I don't know that I'd rather have one or the other. I just know what my expectations change based upon which direction it goes.
Right.
I would love, says Canlay, to a scenario where Deuce stays and gets developed to his max potential until the portal opens and the dust settles. We can only hope.
I would love this too. This is ideal. This is the ideal situation.
Right.
Is that no matter what, Deuce stays, you get a chance to actually develop him, and then bam, he is a star in college football for at least a couple years here.
Right.
Right. But as time passes and he's further removed from high school, it sucks because he has that blow up season, and then your stock is high, and then they jump to the NFL.
Right. Yeah. So you don't, like, if he has so let's just play that scenario out, right? Byrum, I keep saying Bryce Brown, my bad, basketball player. Byrum Brown comes in and is amazing next year, and Auburn's on the doorstep or in the college football playoff with him, right? And Deuce Knight is elated because he didn't win the starting job, but Auburn was really good, and he knows the keys are his that next season. And then 27, Deuce Knight has an amazing season. He may say, look, this was enough for me, because he's bold. He's eligible for the NFL at that point in time. He might go ahead and jump then. So you've got to have a plan for that. And you might not get 2 or 3 years of him. You may only get 1 good season and he's out of here. But again, we will see. Perry, unlikely. If there was a transfer portal, we never get Cam.
Cam Newton.
I'm assuming he means Cam Newton in this. I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean,
yeah,
listen, does
'cause
he
back
still get in
then,
trouble at Florida? Like, I don't know.
because he doesn't go JUCO potentially.
Again, I don't know the answer to that because of the circumstances that made him leave Florida. Do people just take a shot on him anyway? Like, I don't know the answer to that. But I will say though that it maybe is a little less likely.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more. It was down to us in Mississippi State essentially,
Right.
and I think leaving Florida because of the level of recruit he was, you see potentially a lot more people with their irons in the fire for Cam Newton
Right.
coming out of Florida there. I mean, he physically, all his gifts are very apparent physically. Yeah, and if you've never stood next to Cam Newton, he's bigger than most linebackers. He is a big dude. When he came to throw to his brother for pro day, he had this moment where he kind of like he's scrambling, he double backs and then throws the ball across his body like 60 yards down the field. It was a beautiful pass. Our guy Lance Daw has a video of this somewhere on his profile, and it's just the things that make Cam special are just you can't teach really. You're just born with that kind of stuff. The physical gifts that he has, I wouldn't trade his year for anything. I just wouldn't. It was too much fun. I was living in New Jersey when Cam won the Heisman, and my New Jersey friends, they knew kind of Auburn, but they didn't get how deep it went until they watched an Auburn football game with me that season. Matter of fact, the first Auburn football game my girlfriend at the time watched with me was that Iron Bowl. And when they were down 24-0, she was terrified. She thought I was going to go Hulk out and just smash the whole house to bits. Fortunately, they came back and won. But I just think that season was just so special, and it's time. We're due for another really special season from a quarterback, right? Like, Nick Marshall, when you go back and look at his highlights from 2013, God, man, he was special. He was a special player, and he had a special penchant for making plays when Auburn needed them. You remember the touchdown that they scored to send the 2013 Iron Bowl. Not to overtime, but like the time he was almost over the line of scrimmage. He threw the ball to Sammy Coates. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
And just like it was a weird throw. Like I think he had like switch hands to throw it or something, and got it to him. Like he was just a playmaker,
Right.
and it was so fun watching him play. There was an inevitability to that offense that you just knew they were going to score. Even in the national title game, when Auburn needed to take the lead on that Trey Mason touchdown, I had no doubt that Auburn was going to score. I was just like, dang, they scored too early.
It was too fast. Yeah, that was like it felt like, okay, you always felt like you had a shot if there was enough time left with the playmakers that they have. But like I said, it was just too fast. So,
yeah.
What I did not trust was that defense's ability to get the stop.
No, my in my head, in my perfect world where Auburn actually wins that game, Trey Mason kneels the ball at the half-yard line instead of going in for the score, and then Auburn forces Florida State to use all their timeouts and runs the clock out. Damn.
But Dustin, Hugh was the anti-point of failure. Pull him equals you win. Yeah, he was it felt like he was the faulty piece in the machine that needed to be replaced. Yes.
Yeah. We put a generic part in.
All you had to do was take this fuse out. That's fine. Yeah. It's like, all right, well. Darius jumps in. Players in the portal are talented, but didn't win here. Let Golesh cook. Yeah, I mean, again, I agree with this sentiment. They didn't win. I don't like this whole throw them away. They're all bad at eggs thing, right? Because at some point in time, you got to blame the chef too. It's not always the ingredients.
Yeah, I don't think they were the reason we didn't win though.
Yeah. So, but they do need to learn how to win, and hopefully, again, the culture changes so they can. Chris jumps in and says schools need to start letting players sign 2-year contracts so coaches won't be trying to hurry up and get players. I don't think signing multi-year contracts does much other than for agents to figure out ways to void those contracts when those players are unhappy, and it changes the dynamics of maybe playback pay. But again, I have to remind people, it's going to be a little bit different in this era where they are doing these contracts around the way the compensation is set up now. But name, image, and likeness, they already have situations now where people are signing multi-year contracts. They're just paying the money back and moving on somewhere else. Like that's not, NIL is not the same as NFL contracts. It's just not. And I know people want to compare the NFL to what was happening with NIL because players are being paid. It's not the same thing. Those are essentially sponsorship deals, and you fulfill your contract for that portion of time. You're not. What they will do is stop paying you any future payouts as long as you fulfill the obligations of the 12-month period in which you were there. They just void the rest of the contract and you move on somewhere else. That's just how that works. It's not the same thing as paying a player to be on your team. And I know that's difficult to separate in people's minds because they tie those things together, but they're not. The compensation that you're able to receive is contingent upon the team in which you're playing for, but your future compensation is not tied to you continuing to play for that team. I get it. It's very nuanced, but it is different. So multi-year contracts is not what solves this issue unless you're paying multi-year payouts in front. If you're paying a bunch of money up front and that is contingent upon time, then you're recouping some money at the end of that contract. But if it's a month-by-month thing and I stop being here 6 months into that contract, well, we just void the rest of the contract. You move on, we move on. No big deal. I know I promised you $2 million. You only getting $1 million because you only were here half the time. So anyway, NH3425 says, love that Larry Porter is back. Well, A, love Larry Porter's back. B, the X-Train Atkins returns. Kudos to Golesh. C, a revenge tour is coming in 26 for Auburn. I love that Golesh has surrounded some of his staff with SEC experience too, trending up War Damn Eagle. Yeah, again, I like what he's doing so far. Let's see some results, baby. I want to see them results. Ricky Mendez. I want to see Eric Smith play next season. Use the talent we have already. I think Eric Smith is talented. Duke Smith, talented. You got a bunch of guys that you can rattle off. Again, we talked about Bryce Kane, talented. He meant Derek Smith. He says he corrected himself there. I think there's a bunch of talented guys on this team, and you got people that can be utilized, but like, we'll see. We'll see what happens with all of this talent. Again, he's in he being Alex Golesh, very different place than Hugh Freeze was day one. So I think, again, the leash is going to be a little bit shorter on the excuse train. NH jumps back in. If DK stays and is developed correctly, sky's the limit. But the moment in SEC play he has a bad game, our fan base will want him benched. Let's see how it works. Hope for the best. See what happens. I can say literally this exact same thing for Byrum Brown. If Byrum Brown comes in and whether Deuce Knight is, let's play both of those scenarios. Byrum Brown is here. Deuce Knight is still on the team on the bench, and he has a bad game in SEC play. We're going to be here on a post game, and people will immediately be saying, it's time to see Deuce Knight. I'm ready to see Deuce Knight. Let's play the other scenario. Byrum Brown comes in. He has a bad game in the SEC. Deuce Knight decides he's going to leave. We're going to be in here on the post game, and the comment section is going to be flooded with, see, this is why you should have kept Deuce Knight. You have to, when you're a quarterback, you have to win, bro. You have to win and you have to play well, or there will be criticism. I have watched comment sections for teams, pro, collegiate, all over the country, not just Auburn, eviscerate quarterbacks that have won championships Fans don't care. They want to see their team win every single game, and they want their quarterback to be flawless in the process. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. People kick the crap out of freaking Eli Manning consistently, and he was out there winning titles in New York. Wasn't playing the best. He winning titles, though. They didn't care. They wanted to see somebody else come in there and play.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning that year when he was in Denver, I watched the Denver fans say, get this dude out of here. He's past his prime, until he won a title. And he's the greatest thing that ever happened to Denver sports since John Elway.
Fans are fickle. At the ultimately win. Whoever you pick at quarterback, just go win. That's it. Don't feed us any lines about building and all. Just go win football games.
Yeah.
And make these kids good quarterbacks. If for as much as he fails to win championships, like literally, bro has 0 championships. Lane Kiffin, he develops quarterbacks. Yeah, you cannot argue that part of their record. So they're always kind of like in and around the conversation. And ironically, the year that they finally figure it out, he's going. And he's going to make and he got paid almost $100 million to go to LSU because he is consistently good at finding quarterbacks. And let me tell you something. They have a history of of when they find a quarterback, they find a quarterback. Can you imagine Lane Kiffin with a Joe Burrow or Jaden Daniels type?
No, I don't want to imagine that. Actually.
Wow, yikes, man. I'm telling you. And Joe Burrow.
I can only hope he has Joe Burrow, or excuse me, more so Jaden Daniels' offensive line and can't figure out how to get around that if he gets that kind of guy.
Joe Burrow's
That's
taking
my
a
hope
lot
for
of heat
him
right now for saying that, he's not having fun or whatever. But I'm telling you, if Golesh becomes that coach that always just finds a quarterback and we figure out, we can trust you with this, the next time he says he's bringing the kid in for a 1-year stopgap, I definitely won't be questioning it.
Right.
So whatever.
Yeah, you get the evaluation right. It changes what the expectation are that you can do it again. But you screw it up the first time. Now I'm side-eyeing you every time you do it.
Yeah. That's it. So if he gets this one right, he'll set a really, really good tone, I think, for getting patients if we know that it's going to meet a certain level every year.
Right.
But when Auburn has been able to find a quarterback, it's either been an undefeated season or a championship run or Heisman it feels like Auburn's always just been one good quarterback away.
That is essentially the quandary for most teams. If you got a guy who can be quarterback, you put yourself in position to win. Mm-hmm. Darius Lee, Freeze was the problem, but the players failed to execute at times. Hopefully Golesh can bring killer mentality. That's why I'm not worried about the portal.
I have my thought on this, and I don't disagree with Darius. I just want people to consider that lack of execution is part of why Freeze failed. I'm putting a portion of that on him as well, too. You had a process that didn't prioritize the details and the consistency, and the product was inconsistent, even from your best players. This is why bad coaching is so, or lack of development is so toxic to your program. Or watching kids we know that can do certain things fail to do those things. Players have failed to execute at times at even the best programs. That happens. The bigger issue is the environment that allowed these kids to go out there and fail in these moments instead of doing the thing. Remember that. You remember that. I got a couple examples, but you remember that game that Auburn played versus South Carolina a few years ago where Bo was
multiple interceptions, and then at the end of the game, he runs out of bounds rather than throwing it.
Or he tries to run it in from like the 30 or something like that, or the 20. It was just, there was only one option there, right? Auburn could have gotten a first down, but if they did, they had to get it quickly.
Right.
Or he had to put the ball in the end zone.
He couldn't run around and run the clock out. Right.
And he went out there somehow and did the one thing that he could not do in that moment. And I always blame coaching. I'm like, wait, unless you're telling me, you can show me the moment where Gus was in his ear and said, hey, remember, here's your scenario real quick. Put the ball in the end zone or get a first down quickly and get down. Those are your only two options. Don't waste a bunch of time scampering around back there. All right, go. That's it. How are they not in their ear in those moments, reminding them of the only thing that they cannot do? Now, there are some players good enough, Ike, to have the situational awareness in the moment when they're tired to say, all right, I'm running down my mental checklist right now. But boy, wouldn't it help? Right? You ever been on your way out to leave the house? And as soon as you hit the door, your wife says, Ike, don't forget your keys on the counter. Instead of you wasting 5 minutes running all over the place looking for your keys, my girl does it all the time. I just don't understand. This is where I think that coaching failed. And it's so easy to say, oh, but they didn't execute. All right. But you know what? You're supposed to have a coach in your ear all year long so that in the offseason, telling you these things. So when the season gets here, even when they're not saying it, you still hear your coach in your head telling you, wait. What would coach say to me in this moment? He would say, remember when Tank famously just didn't go down?
Well, he went out of bounds.
He went out of bounds, right? That's right.
Yeah,
right. And it was like the only thing you couldn't do there for a guy as experienced as Tank. He did. I can't help but wonder if you forgot to be a coach in that moment and remind him, do not go out of bounds. Don't let them force you out. The game's over as long as you stay in bounds. Auburn lost that game. You could put that's a lack of execution, is it not?
Yeah.
So yes, while I feel Tank should have known, there is also another part of that where, hey man, the reminder might have been useful there. To just say, hey, I gotta believe if a coach told him right before that, do not get pushed out of bounds. That is your only job here. Or a quarterback or a teammate, or you relate that to him somehow. That he still does that. Come on, man. For as detailed as Alex Golesh appears to be, I hope that I'm very optimistic that he will get these things right so that we don't see that lack of execution from these players. Because their coach is always going to be in their ear reminding them in the offseason so much that even when he doesn't, when the moment comes, they can hear Coach Golesh, Coach Durkin in their ear saying, oh, wait, we've done this a million times in practice. I've heard Coach say a million times, if this happens, I cannot do these things. That's high-level coaching, and every kid that comes to Auburn deserves it. They deserve that level of attention to detail, Ike. So again, I don't disagree with Darius. I just want to point that out there. It's not just simply, oh, they didn't execute. When you are on the field and you are physically exhausted and tired and your mind is everywhere, it helps to have your coach remind you. You know, just make the catch. Hey, Cam, we're going to get you the ball on this play. Focus on the ball. Don't start running before you get the ball. We need the catch more than we need the amazing play here. Little things, man. Little things. We got all this technology, too. You can't tell me there's not a way for you to communicate with these players and coach them 100 95% of the time.
I mean, now there's zero excuse because you literally can talk in their helmet. Up
Yeah,
until 15
come on,
seconds. So it's
man.
like, bro, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think that they're going to coach on this level. One thing that I know, I think I can share this in what is I call the re-recruitment of Cam Coleman. Cody Burns said, I just want to develop him. I just want to get my hands on him, and I just want to teach. And I love that, man. I love that they are taking that approach to a kid as talented as Cam Coleman. They're not looking for Cam to be the savior of Auburn football. They understand that his talent is, while helpful, he still needs that guidance. And there's a ton that they can teach him. And I love that they're going to focus on what they can do for him and not just what he can do for them. All that equals execution in the fourth quarter when you need it. I promise you. I promise you it does. All right, I'm off my soapbox. Next comment.
For sure. Perry Unlikely graduated high school VA in 02. Have friends from Virginia that went to Auburn then. I decided to go back to college in 2009 and go to Auburn. Comparing those seasons with my high school friends is fun. I feel that. NH jumps in. If Byrum Brown hits the portal, do y'all think Alex Golesh has eyes on any QB that has announced they're going to the transfer portal? So basically he's asking, is it Byrum Brown or nothing in the transfer portal as far as quarterback is concerned?
No, I think that there's a world where you need more than just that. Or if Byrum decides he's staying, you still go to the portal to get a QB, but just for very different reasons.
Yeah,
because Ash is going to be gone.
I think here's the thing, right? Because
you need a full quarterback room regardless.
That question, I think, hinges on Ashton Daniels' decision, right? Because if Ashton Daniels stays, then no, you've got your quarterback that can go in and compete. But I think to your point, Mike, if Ashton Daniels leaves regardless when the portal opens, you've got to go get somebody in the portal. But selling Deuce Knight that person is someone who he can compete with, because both of you guys are learning the system for the first time, much easier sell than it is Byrum Brown.
Thanks.
Much easier. Another one here from NH who says, to Mike's point about Bo in South Carolina game, recall when Thorne threw the ball away on 4th down in the red zone at Bama in 24. Surely Hugh Freeze didn't say do that. Yeah, again, it's 4th down. You need a score. You throw a pick in the end zone, so what? They get the ball back either way. You got to take a shot and throw it in the vicinity of somebody with the same color jersey as you in that scenario.
Yeah. They're exhausted. It is the fourth quarter. Sometimes you just need a coach in your ear reminding you of what the mission is. Hey, man, whatever you do, don't take a sack here. Do not let this game end with the ball in your hands and you on the ground.
Right.
Throw up a prayer, literally anything. We're not going to cook you for giving us a shot. But if you get in trouble, keep your wits about you, but also don't get sacked or the game's over. They've got to be able to look at all
multiple
those
games
things.
This last season ended in that exact scenario.
Yeah, I just got to believe that teams have to be developing a situational process where if the coach has his mind on other things, someone calls this down and says, hey, guys, let's not forget we can't take a sack here. We got to put the ball in the end zone. We just need a first down. Look for the intermediate route. If I take you back to the prayer and Jordan Hare, there were guys open. There were easier throws than the one Nick Marshall made.
Right.
And that wacky ass play worked out, but there was a smarter football play to be made than the throw that he made that just happened to work out.
For sure. Let's see here. Bunch of letters here. WWHR. I wish they would put people's real names back up here because
this is Wesley.
Yeah, I say this is where I started. I didn't look at the picture. I started reading the name. Wesley Hilton. Thank you. It's very simple. Believe in these coaches and the players who want to be here because I believe in Auburn and love it. Hey, listen, at the end of the day, we got no choice. Our job is just to root and cheer and believe. It's their job to get the dub. So I feel that.
Yeah, facts.
Felix, War Damn Eagle, hopefully we get a better season. I think that is everybody's hope here. Cleveland gifted 5 War Report memberships. Thank you so much for that. Last one here, Up Tempo jumps in. That's part of the gang, you know what I mean? So I had to get theirs in there. How much should we value years of eligibility left? If you have to re-recruit your own guys every offseason, it feels very year-to-year basis. We got freshmen making return announcements now.
How much should we value years of eligibility left? Well, look, man, if you're a winning program, you worry about this less. Right, because
I'll add to that, not just a winning program, but a program that is showing consistency of developing guys and putting a plan in place that they can trust.
Yeah, so, you're not worried about this.
Yeah, if you are a quarterback and you're on a losing team, then you value it less because you're like, I don't know if I'm not playing in front of this guy who's not playing very well, what is my shot of ever playing on this team? If you are a defensive lineman and you're on a losing team and you're sitting on the bench, years of eligibility left probably don't mean a whole bunch because it's like, I want to go win somewhere. Starting on this team next year might not mean anything to me.
Vex.
I don't think it's a singular valuing years of eligibility thing. I think it's more about what's the culture and the system that's in place that's cultivating players to make them want to stay a part of that winning process. And have you shown something to that player to make them think that they have a future in that future winning? If you don't have both of those, then you will be having to re-recruit year over year. So it's a much easier recruitment process when you're winning.
That's fact. That's facts.
All right.
That's small.
That is all we got for you guys tonight. Yep, but it was a good one. Appreciate everybody for jumping in here. Mike, tell the people how they can support what's going on. We got going on at the War Report.
Over 2,000 of you guys in here with us on a Wednesday night. We've been doing Friday night lives for you guys. So look, do me a favor. Type Friday in the chat if you guys like the Friday night lives that we've been doing, and we'll keep that going. Trying a little something different for you guys to make sure that you're getting the live content at a time that's great for you. When we started the show, Ike, it felt like Wednesday nights were great for us, but we don't want to take something away that we've been giving you guys. We want to add to. So if you like those Friday night lives, type Friday in the chat. We'll keep going live on Friday here for you guys. And if you're watching this on Twitter, do us a favor, come on over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and lock in with us. We need the YouTube subscriptions and views here. So we're doing this on Twitter to make sure that we meet you guys where you're at. But we need you on YouTube, man, because that's where we make money and that's how we thrive. So we appreciate you for watching us no matter where you guys are at. We also appreciate our title sponsor, The Rage Room. You can find them at the addresses on the screen. So whether you're in Opelika or Birmingham, they've got a place for you to go Hulk out, rage out, and just generally get your anger out in a healthy way. The Rage Room. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. Want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORTER. Get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. Also want to give a quick shout out to our friends at Abel's Iannone Moore and Associates. They're your friendly financial fiduciaries there to help you get your finances back on track or just plan for the future, whether it's retirement or savings or investments. Abel's Iannone Moore and Associates has all those things covered. Insight, perspective, results. Abel's Iannone Moore and Associates. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's Iannone Moore and Associates for this endorsement. Abel's Iannone Moore and Associates is a SEC registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Visit them at AIMA.com. Call them at 912-777-4128 or scan the QR code on your screen to get started. I want to thank our friends at the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. That's on Highway 431, right across the street from Chattahoochee Valley Community College, next to the Renfro Supermarket and the Marco's Pizza. The Vibe Vault, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank our friends at Sky Tobacco and Vape. You see the addresses there, whether you're in Phoenix City or Columbus. They are popping up all over the place. I got a couple more locations we got to add to these graphics. They've got stores popping up everywhere. We appreciate them for sponsoring us this fall, hoping they'll return as a spring sponsor. But if you are in need of some vape supplies, they've got you covered everywhere, all over Columbus and Phoenix City. So we appreciate them for sponsoring this segment.
Yep, and we thank all of you who do the things necessary to keep us in front of more people, like sharing the content with somebody else out there. Liking the video absolutely helps as well. Subscribing to the channel helps us. You can follow us on social media. If you're out there in Twitter right now, then you're probably watching this, come on over here and make sure you follow us on Twitter. Don't just watch the show. Follow us on Twitter. You can come and subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. We're on Instagram as well at The War Report. We're TW Report on TikTok. Out of here until the next time, much more to talk about with all of the things happening with Auburn sports. I'll be covering that Purdue game, hopefully for you guys this weekend. So we'll be talking about that at some point in time. But until then, and as always, War Eagle.